In 2016, the legislature passed the Right to Earn a Living Act, ultimately saying that the right to earn a living in Tennessee is a fundamental right, and that the government can infringe upon that right with things like unnecessary occupational licensing laws. It also required the legislature to review all the existing licensing laws. We have 110 different ones in the state of Tennessee to make sure that they're absolutely necessary to protect consumer health and safety. And if they're not, look at ways to repeal those or insert other reasonable regulations in place of requiring a full-blown license to do a job. We believe that this is a great first step in order to protect the public, but also to protect people's right to earn a living in our state. But unfortunately, it doesn't go far enough. Ultimately, if you're a citizen who, let's say, has to have a license to braid hair, yet you've learned how to do that, you've known how to do that since you were 3 years old, if you wanted to challenge that in court, you would bear the full burden of disproving any reason the government might have in order to say that that licensing law is necessary. So that's ultimately an insurmountable barrier for a lot of people. What we believe is that if the government says you can't do a job without government permission or a license, then the government should have to prove that that license is absolutely necessary to protect health and safety. So if someone does challenge those laws, which they already have the right to do, now once they go into court, that burden should shift to the government, forcing the government to prove the necessity of the license rather than the other way around. They should have to prove that it's necessary to protect consumer health and safety, and if they can't, that law shouldn't exist in the first place. Sadly, Tennessee requires a license to do many jobs, over 100 different jobs in the state. Some of those are understandable, doctors and nurses and those types of things, of course they're going to have a license. The only time the government should impose a licensing law is when that's the only way to protect consumers' health and safety. There are also other ways to protect consumer health and safety without requiring a license. We don't require line cooks to get a license from the government, but we inspect their kitchens. That's a far safer way to protect consumers than requiring them to go to school and obtain a costly government license. Beacon has represented numerous people in the courts and before licensing boards who have either been shut down by these licensing boards or told they could never get a license to do a job to begin with. We've seen the heartache that these individuals go through not being able to do a job they love. They've literally been shut out of good opportunities. We believe that's patently unfair. And when we've already declared the right to earn a living as a constitutional, fundamental right, then we need to go the extra step to ensure that in practice, it is treated that way as well. So as far as me personally, I really believe in this reform, mainly because I know how many people it would help. There are thousands of Tennesseans who don't have the opportunity to defend their rights. And if they don't have a group like Beacon to represent them in court, then they have no recourse, they have no options. And so I want to make sure that those Tennesseans have the same opportunities that those we've been able to help do as well.